So with that, we're going to go to Nathan at Alta. Nathan is the co-founder and CEO of Alta Resource Technologies, which uses engineered proteins to extract critical minerals like rare earth elements from mining ores and waste streams. He holds an MA and PhD from Stanford and a master's from Princeton. Alta has raised $12.5 million in funding from investors including DCVC, Voyager Ventures, In-Q-Tel, and Orion Industrial Ventures. So let's take it away.
Hi, I'm Nathan. I'm going to talk about mineral separations. As Nari said, they're a pretty key bottleneck in the mining to manufacturing supply chain you're going to hear about tonight. But before I get there, I do want to thank Voyager. Louder, can you hear me? There we go. Voyager's been a great partner, so thank you very much for your collaboration in the past 18 months. I'm going to start in a bit of a different way than maybe you would normally do a pitch. So I spent the last few months in and out of Washington, D.C., meeting with In-Q-Tel, Senate Intelligence Committee, Department of Defense. Minerals are on the tip of everybody's tongue, right? There seems a very new and deep appreciation for both the breadth, the depth, and the immediacy of the problem that we're facing, right? Why is that the case? So here's the problem. Demand is growing exponentially because we like our electrified products, right? As we electrify everything, the critical minerals you need go up super fast. Tonight, I'm going to focus on rare earths and permanent magnets because I feel like that's something that most people in this room know about, right? You're facing a very near-term supply gap. And this is before you start dealing with geopolitics. I could talk about this for hours, but the second thing here is that the refining capacity is highly located in China. And what they're doing, I'll give you a little bit of background here, is they're doing a process that we developed in the 1960s. We offshored it in the 2000s. It's so toxic we can't permit it back in the US today. There's literally no way you can do that, right? Let me make it real for you, though. You can go to the Wall Street Journal almost any day and read about this. In May, a Ford Explorer plant in Chicago shut down because of rare earth shortages, right? That's what it is. If you go through the Wall Street Journal today, you'll see an update to this story that they still haven't solved this problem. This is how real it is, right? But it's not just automotive. IT, energy, AI, robotics, they're all in the same boat, right? Defense tech is an even worse place. Just like energy, minerals are important to everything we care about, right? And the only way to solve this problem is to deploy new technology. So Alta does high purity mineral separations. Our system is an entirely new high purity process. I'm trying to think what I can say publicly, sorry. So let me say here. So look, here's the deal, let me drive this home. We are cleaner, we are faster, we are cheaper. Why is that? We replace hundreds of chemical wash steps with a single column chromatography run. We're 100x more efficient than the conventional methods that you can't permit in the US today. That's how much better it is, right? What I can tell you about our technology is two things. One is that the core of it is immobilized proteins. Immobilized proteins are used widely in industry. They're cell-free, meaning they're non-living, but they retain their functionality. The easiest way to think about it is a little tiny biological robot, right? All they want to do is what they were designed to do. We can deploy that in an industrial setting, and they last for thousands of cycles. This is what gives you amazing unit economics. We're also very fortunate at Alta because we're able to license and work with Lawrence Livermore, who started working on this several years ago. So we're way out in front, even though the company is relatively young. I'd be happy to tell you more offline if you're interested in learning more. Okay, so how do we fit into industry? That's pretty key to getting to market quickly, right? So we work in two industries, the mining and e-waste recycling, right? The mining industry is pretty straightforward. You get a bunch of big trucks and some excavators, and you dig a bunch of rocks out of the ground, right? Then you go through a variety of concentration steps. This is grinding and milling, a variety of conventional processes. Typically, the vast majority of minerals, if they're not developed in China, will go for refining. This is where you turn it into the high-value product, right? So think about the cobalt in the DRC, or in this case for today, rare earths, right? This process, again, we can't permit in the US, and then they ship it to end users. This is a virtual monopoly on the supply line that we're talking about today, right? There's a similar allegory in e-waste. The only difference being is that you get it out of existing products. So a permanent magnet, the weighted value of the rare earths in there is $130,000 a ton. Makes every sense in the world to recycle that, right? This is our go-to-market. It's faster, it's cheaper. We'll start producing in the beginning of 2026. So I'm going to stop my pitch a little bit and just say that toxicity in mining is so pervasive that it opens up a number of opportunities. And one of the biggest things that we found in our journey is that not enough great young engineers, scientists, and entrepreneurs realize that mining is a frontier space. So let me be real blunt. Fortunes will be made deploying new technology in the mining industry. If you're a talented chemical engineer, biochemist, process engineer, or you work in AI, you should know this is a frontier space. So I'd encourage everybody to do that, right? So we work with a large group of high-value minerals that have hard separations. There's a number of other places to look, right? Copper heap leach is a big one. I think a lot of people have heard about direct lithium extraction. Synthetic graphite, I know Darren's in the back there, right? There's a number of opportunities where you can look to deploy your skills in a growth industry. So we're very fortunate to be backed by a lot of great investors. Voyager right in the center there, In-Q-Tel, which is the CIA's venture fund. And so if you are looking in this space, please let us know. We closed a pre-Series A round a few weeks ago. We just launched our Series A. We will be going through a bunch of hiring. Or if you're an investor, I'd love to chat. Anyway, the point here is the opportunity is huge, right? But you need new technology, you need to deploy it on existing assets, and you move very quickly. So thank you for your time.
Great presentation. Thank you so much. What's your revenue projection in 5 years?
A lot. Yeah, so I think the nice thing about... Yeah, so we don't talk very publicly about our exact revenue projections. What I would say is that when you have the opportunity to work in both electronic waste and mining, you can go very quickly. And so you can deploy both quickly in geographies and across resources. So like in e-waste, we're building in the US first, right? But you can get really quickly into Western Europe and Southeast Asia. At the same time, you're parallel pathing with the ore space. So there's a number of ores you can pull these from. Obviously, Mountain Passes in California. Ionic clays are a huge opportunity. They actually have the easiest stuff to work with because of the natural leaching. Bauxite's a huge opportunity. These resources are in the US. The analogy I make, which isn't always well received in the climate community, is fracking. And we can talk about the pollution elements of that. But the truth of the matter is technology was fantastic, right? And what it allowed us to do was not find new resources. It made known resources bankable, right? Meaning we always knew there was oil and gas. We just needed new technology to go and get it. That's the same thing here, right? We know where a lot of minerals are. You just need to get them cost effectively.
Can you speak to how much you validated at scale? How much throughput you've been able to achieve?
Yeah, so I will say that we have 1,000x out of the lab, and so fundamentally de-risked at scale. So yeah, I think your pilot scale is ready to go.
Cool, thanks.
I've got a bag of P Ridge ore sitting on my desk. I'm really curious if you think we'll see rare earth extraction from mines zoned in the US. A lot of people are talking about it. They don't want to talk about the chemicals. Obviously, you can solve a big part of that problem. Do you think it's going to happen fast, or are people going to just take forever like usual here in the US?
I think yes, absolutely. I think largely it's dependent on the mining partners. They're the asset owners. I think you have to be very realistic about that. But I think a lot of folks realize there's an enormous amount of money to be made, and it's a good way to do remediation, so there's two wins. The nice thing is you can get to lots of different assets. So copper in the Southwest is huge, right? There's a bauxite mine in Arkansas that should be producing right now. And so yeah, it'll happen. How quickly, we'll see.
So I'm curious, do you work with family-owned mines, or do you work with more corporate-owned mines? What type of level are you looking at?
They have to be producing consistently. It's mostly about the resource characterization, to be honest with you. Mines are pretty nuanced, as you may know. And so you want to make sure that what you're going after is really high value, but also that the resource partner is properly motivated.
I'm curious if you see opportunities for even higher value, like precious metals or nuclear fuels, for example.
Yes. I think that, so the way that we think about it is that if you think about how complex a mineral separation is, when things are less complex, that's where chemicals win, because chemicals are cheap. So think like catalytic cracking. We do that all the time. We're going to keep using chemicals for that. When you look at where biology shines, it's where selectivity really matters. So if you think about rare earths as an example, that are neighboring on the periodic table, right? So getting a chemical to tell the difference is very hard. Biology can do that with its selectivity, right? So when the mineral separations are harder, that's where our product shines. That tends to be a more expensive product, right? Semiconductor metals, other things like that. In terms of the nuclear component with radiation, I might just hold on that, but I do think it's definitely possible. Okay, sounds good. Back.
Hi. Could you speak to what kinds of waste streams that you're generating and what drives the confidence in kind of you guys being able to do your process in the United States? Because a big problem that you pointed out is China has dominance because of their lack of like environmental concern and yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So I got to be a little careful here, but yes. So I would say that our waste streams are quite small and very easy to remediate, right? And so we're not concerned about the permitting process. Honestly, the biggest concern, I mean, not a concern, but the thing you're working with is you want low water prices and you don't want to be in a place with super high electricity costs, but the toxicity permitting is not really a concern. Anyway, closing argument, very serious about this. The opportunity is huge for people in the mineral space. I'm glad to see you all here. If you want to talk, please let me know.